Thank you very much, Ms. Mavelia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you think about women in the media, what occurs to you? I think probably you think about all those presenters that you constantly see on your television screens. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just the surface. And if you scratch beyond the surface, then actually things are a bit gloomy when it comes to the relationship between women and the media. Let me give you a brief personal anecdote. In 1998, when I joined the editorial board of the German newspaper Taz, I was the only boss of a national daily, and with the 360 other newspapers, weeklies and dailies that we have in this republic, I only had 2 counterparts, women. 11 years later, 2009, when I left the editorial board of Taz, apart from me, there were 3 other women out of 360 newspapers of a daily and weekly status. That's how quickly things were moving in terms of women in managerial positions in the media. Now, we probably don't have to stress this. Really, a snail, by comparison, is a Ferrari. So what can women do about it? There are now maybe 2 or 3 more women running regional and national newspapers, or at least departments. Apart from Taz, there are no national dailies that have a female boss. The Berliner Zeitung has recently taken on a woman in a senior executive position. That's positive. But it's still only 2% women in managerial positions in daily and weekly newspapers. And that's with 360 titles throughout the country. So that's the question. What can women do about it? Throw a few stink bombs, occupy people's offices, take hostages? All very good ideas, of course, and basically we do have good reason to do it. But we women are always so constructive, aren't we? So we're going to give this male-dominated system, including the media, another chance. And we media women have set up an association, Pro-Quota. Last Saturday, so we're not even a week old, we were baptized. We founders assert that we are the most effective association in the country, because after 5 years we hope to have dismantled ourselves, because then we hope that the German media will have 30% women at all levels of the hierarchy. That is the goal. And then our association will have become obsolete. Pro-Quota was launched early this year as a guerrilla campaign. 12 women in the Hamburg media, mostly working for Gruner and Jahr and Spiegel, simply had had enough. And so they appealed to women working in media all over the country, in all media, and 350 signatures were collected. It was a really secret plot, actually, quite a conspiracy. You have to bear in mind that, of course, we're all very good at talking. We're all very good at networking, and we talk a lot, but the fact was that all of us gossips kept our mouths shut until the end of February. And then we sent a letter to 200 media decision makers with our list of demands. As I said, we already had 350 signatures by this point. The chief editor of Zeit and Stern then publicly said they would like to see more women in managerial positions, but they weren't really convinced of the need for a quota. By early April, we had far more than 3,000 people supporting us, men and women, because, of course, we don't want to fight our battle in media for more women on our own as women. We want men, we want our male colleagues to join us, and we welcome them. So we already had over 3,000 people supporting us in early April, and as I said a few days ago on the 9th of June, we founded our association. Now, of course, a quota gets on people's nerves. It's annoying, it's undemocratic. But we're talking about male-dominated reality here, and that gets on your nerves too. The quota is a crutch, because we're hobbling around on one leg in this society, the male leg. And as soon as we have more women in these positions, we can throw this crutch away. We won't need it anymore. Unfortunately, however, journalism and the media are absolutely dominated by men. If you look at Süddeutsche Zeitung, Focus, Frankfurter Rundschau, German FT, Bild Zeit, look at them. They have These are the most important periodicals and dailies, and they don't have many women. Stern and Zeit say they have 5% women in managerial positions, although it's a bit opaque. We're not quite sure who they're counting. In the Springer publications, 1 in 5 managerial positions is held by a woman. With Spiegel and Süddeutsche Zeitung, we have 7%. At Süddeutsche Zeitung, only 2 out of 22 heads of department are women. And Matthias Matusek, who we know dislikes women, says of his magazine Spiegel, we have a big editorial board with 300 primarily testosterone-driven bulls, which sounds like a horror scenario, not only for the women. There are lots of reasons why things are the way they are. One thing is that there is a myth that men make decisions. Men form decisions. They are the ideal journalists. Think about Klaus Keebler, for example, in Germany. They can make you believe anything. And Helmut Schmidt, maybe not a journalist, a politician, but he is a publisher of Zeit, and he is perceived to be the most important German when it comes to opinion forming. And yet women have better training in the media, but their higher qualifications doesn't help their career prospects at all. What's particularly annoying is the male dominance in the business pages, with the results that we've seen in recent years, because it's not the case that those who are responsible for the financial and economic crisis are entirely responsible for the crisis. A great role is played by those who do the analyzing. And who are the people in the media who analyze the financial situation? And who has helped and supported the system that has driven us to ruin? Steinbart at the Handelsblatt, the business daily, has pointed out that there is a similarity between their team and Westerns, where people eat steaks and tell male-dominated jokes. Fantastic. If women do not move into the managerial positions, where are they sitting now? There has been a considerable increase, from 31% to 37% increase in women in the media in general. But for those starting out on their career, women are now 50%. Since 2005, half of the trainees have been women. 25% of these women have permanent positions, but a very large percentage are working as freelancers. It's about 40% permanence with radio, but only a third of the people working for the print press, print media, are women. And in the other media, they're correspondingly underrepresented. With the daily newspapers, they are the oldest of the media. They're particularly hierarchical and particularly patriarchal in their culture, although it was actually a woman in 1702 who founded the first newspaper in London. But one thing that particularly depresses me and rather scares me as far as the future of women is concerned is that the future is online, and that is where the presence of women is particularly low. So before I read a study on this subject, I wouldn't have believed this, but this study tells us quite clearly that at 12 selected news portals, and we're not talking about any portals here, we're talking about news portals, there wasn't a single one with a balanced gender quota. Faznet was most balanced. They had 23% female contributors. Spiegel Online had 26%, and Zeit Online had 20%. Similar, really. So this future domain is an area where women simply don't have their foot in the door. So if we ask why there are so few women in charge, the objective reasons are clear. The media are still a male-dominated domain with male-dominated power structures. The work of the journalist is very often organized in a way which discourages women. That's not just because of the working hours, but the events that are covered tend to be those that are perceived as important by men. In journalism, there is an artificial adrenaline kick, which male journalists often are dependent on, but a lot of women journalists will tend to just shrug their shoulders and say, so what? In journalism, women get good marks if they gear themselves to the male myths in the profession. And a little bit of masculinity is regarded as a sign that you're capable of taking over the reins, as long, of course, as you don't disrupt the status quo. So a female journalist shouldn't be too blokey. She should, on the one hand, really get on well with the lads, be able to communicate with them in a way they understand, but she should remain a woman. There are bad marks for women who don't stick to the rules. The example is a little bit older in date, but it is a very dramatic example. When Sabine Christianian began her chat show, she was called the program, based on a children's title, it was called The Program with the Mouse. And then, of course, there's the glass ceiling. I don't have to tell you about the glass ceiling, you'll be familiar with it. And, of course, there is lack of transparency in the development of human resources. The result is that the dropout rate for young female journalists is particularly high. Even after 5 years in the trade, that is, women around 30, there is a sudden drop of women to below 50%, which is the rate it is when they begin. Women who stay in the job tend to be not married, they tend to be less likely to have children, less than the rate for academics, actually. 40% of academics women have no children, but 60% of female journalists. And then, how are women presented in the media? Just the short version, if we look at the quality, the quantity, there is a drastic underrepresentation of women in news programs. In 1995, women accounted for 17% of the news items. In 2010, it was only 23%. And quite clearly, there is a relationship between the percentage of women in a department on a particular desk and the frequency with which women are actually shown. The lowest levels in the news area is with the daily newspapers, as I said. With the television news, the figures are slightly better at 27% women. And when women are shown, they're usually shown as victims or everyday women on the street who are asked questions. And the news like to talk about women when they fail. A very dramatic example, I suppose, would be Andrea Ypsilanti, the politician. That was exactly what the media were after. With all the chat shows that we have at the moment, and there are a lot of them on German television, a lot of them are presented by women, but since last autumn, usually there was only one woman on the panel. And so one has to ask, what would it achieve if women were to be represented differently in the media? Would they do journalism differently? The writer Elsa Buschheuer has been wondering what female journalism is. Is it a hummingbird? Is it a cactus in the desert? Or is it a fart in the universe? And studies tell us that women do tend to be a little more far-sighted and realistic in their reporting. But if we're talking about interpreting the world, women are very rarely asked. Their journalistic perspective on things, their take on events, is usually still horrifically absent. And why? Because there is... Why is that a problem? It's because the female horizon is different. There is a different interpretation of the world, not just because of biology, but because of social experience, because of the way we're raised as women. So women's horizons of experience are different from men's, and so we approach reality differently. We look for different truth. We try to relate what is happening to what has happened to us. So if we're talking about the health of society, the health of society depends very much on all that female potential being tapped. And the diversity is essential in journalism so that we know more and understand better. It will make the world a little more comprehensible, and as a result, not because women are better people, but because of the greater diversity, that will make the world a bit better. Of course, women aren't the whole story, but without women, everything is nonsense. So thank you very much, and when you hear that name, pro quota, you're very welcome to join us, men and women.